Okay, here we go. You know that old saying about square peg in a round hole. Well, the reason I lay it out this way and I show the start and stop for every section or every segment of a row is because I can put that little round dot inside that little square. So maybe a square peg won't go into a round hole, but this little round dot goes into that square. So this is where we'll start. I tie it off. And once I've got it tied off, and I got my little round laser in that little square, I have a mark on my foot. And when I move the camera down so you can see what I'm doing below, you'll see the mark. I measure from the stationary bar to that mark. And in this case, and the mark is 1/16 of an inch wide. In this case, it is 3/8 of an inch, 8 3/8 of an inch to the top of that mark. So that is the measurement that I want to be consistent with as I go across this quilt. So bear with me. I'll be doing the movements for half of this row with the camera at the top, and then I'll finish the row off with the camera down at the bottom so you can see what I'm doing at the bottom. Round dot in the square, all right? And this is the completion of the first segment, the first section of this row. And so now I'm going to take a measurement, and I'm going to put my glasses on so I can read it. I am 8 3/8 to the top of my mark. So in this particular instance, there was no movement up or down, left or right. Completion of the second section, and I am 8 3/8 to the bottom of the mark, which means that this pattern from that last start point to the finish point has gone down so I need the 3/8 is now not at the top of the mark, it's at the bottom of the mark, so I have to lower, which is pretty regular. It usually is a measurement going down. In this case, the row is going up from left to right, but I have to move it down to keep it level. So I just make the change. I have it set on custom for 1/16 of an inch, and I will just hit it one time, and it'll move down one, and you can see how much it's moved. It's not a lot, but if that happens 5 or 6 times in a row, it becomes a lot. So I'm confident that my movement that I just made is enough so that the consistency of the level of the row going across the quilt remains the same. It's not uncommon at some point in a row, depending on the pattern. Some patterns are different. Some patterns don't ever move more than 1/16 at a time. But it's not uncommon to run across a row that you get done with a segment, a section of the row, a section of the row, and it's moved an eighth of an inch. I had the one I had yesterday was moved in one row. It moved an eighth of an inch 3 times. That was a lot of movement, and I can't explain it. Okay, I'm okay. This time the 3/8 stayed at the top of the mark, so I don't have to do anything to it. I don't have to make any adjustments. I always put the needle down because I could bump it and stuff. I don't want to move it. I want it to be so I get an accurate measurement. Good. I'm impressed. And again, it's moved a 1/16 of an inch, so I need to bring it down a 1/16 of an inch. And when you're moving it, you can see that it moved a little bit. When you're moving it, you really got to watch it, because, especially me, because I use a touch pen. If you use a mouse, if you're clicking on a mouse, it's probably more accurate than this touch pen. But you got to make sure you make good contact with the screen with the touch pen, and then you got to watch it to watch the movement in the whole pattern itself to make sure that it drops down, because it's very, very hard to see. Okay, I'm going to move the camera to the lower portion so that you can see what I'm doing on the quilt in regards to this. You've seen how I measure, you've seen how I move the pattern and stuff, and it's, again, it's insignificant in regards to the amount most of the time. It's only a 1/16 of an inch. In the beginning, it was a 1/4 inch, and I'd get done with a pattern, and it would be 2 inches higher on the right than the left. That goes all the way back to version 1. Once I established the tension I needed to put on my encoders, this is what I was left with. This is nothing compared to what it used to be. Now, I'll move the camera and then we'll go again. Okay, we'll give this another try. I'm set up now to start the second row, and I've got the camera placed so that you can see what goes on at the needle. And hopefully, because I can't get this thing to magnify anymore, hopefully you'll be able to see that I've got that mark, the top of the ruler here, that mark on my foot, and that is the mark that I utilize to take my measurement. So in regards to this row, it's going to start at, hold still there, it's going to start at 15 1/4 inch to the top of that mark. So that is the measurement that I want to use all the way across. Now, I'm only going to go about halfway. You don't need to watch me long arm. I'm going to go about halfway across, and so that you can see what's going on down below, and hopefully you'll be able to see the adjustments as I make them. They're not huge adjustments, thank goodness, like they used to be, but I still have to adjust. It's still a time-consuming step that I have to take for every row almost every row. Every now and then I'll get a row that doesn't move. Not every row on that quilt, but every now and then a row doesn't move. And that is why I go back to consistently inconsistent. And I say that, and at the same time, I want you to realize that there's no better pantograph system on the market for me. If you want to use paper, that's fine. If you're computerized, that's not a problem. I just hope that the computer, if it is programming in this system that causes this movement, I hope that the computerized systems don't have the same problem, because that would really be frustrating. So anyway, here we go. And this time we're going to shoot at the needle. Round dot and a square mark, whatever you want to call that thing. So now I'm looking for that 1/4 inch to the top. And I have it. So that section that I just completed did not move, either way, up or down. There we go. Okay, now it is 15 1/4 inch to the bottom of the mark, so I need to move it down a 1/16 of an inch, because it is moved a 1/16 of an inch. And I'm going to stop it right here so you can see. This is where this is important, because I'm looking for the consistency of this distance between where this needle is now and the previous part of the pattern to be the same all the way across, as well as the distance between the first row of pattern and the second row of pattern being relatively consistent all the way across. Is there going to be some difference? Absolutely, positively could be, because the pointing device in Pantovision is not precise. It depends on which side of the pattern line that circle is, or are you lucky enough to get that circle directly over the line so that the line intersects that circle. That is not impossible to do, but it's almost impossible to do consistently. That's what we strive for, is that consistency, so that when you're done with your quilt, if you are a hand-guided long armor using Pantovision and you don't have this problem, I'm really happy for you. But if you do, and you haven't figured out a way to adjust your pattern so that you're not getting that slant as you quilt along, give this a try. Again, time consuming, but in the end, I look back and am glad I discovered a way to handle what I'm going to call a flaw. I don't have any other term that I can use for it. But again, like I say, I don't know what it is, but I sure think it's in encoders, because finding the right setting for the encoders is what improved the movement of my patterns from up to 2 inches down to, say at the most now, a ½ an inch on a quilt, and that's a wide quilt. So here we go one more time. And once again, it is 1/4 of it, 15 1/4 inches to the bottom of the mark. So now I need to move it down 1 more 1/16, which now we've moved this pattern 1/8 of an inch in 3 sections. And you have to consider that there's, in this particular pattern, on this particular quilt, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 opportunities to adjust this quilt to keep that pattern straight. If you have to move it 1/16 of an inch for every one, that's 9/16 of an inch. That's going to be a crooked row. So this is what we're trying to eliminate. I'll do one more and then I'll get out of your hair. All right, now I'm back to 15 1/4 of an inch to the top of my mark, so I won't have to move this one. But at the same time, it's staying level. So that's the goal here, is to keep it level across the quilt. And this is what I have to do to make that work. So once again, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. I hope that I'm giving you some information that you might be able to use, and I hope you understand that this is my way. This is not the only way. I've said it before, I'll say it again, there can be 1,000,000 long armors, and that means there's 999,999 different ways to do it than I do. Have a fabulous day. Quilt till you will. We do.